we'll start with this. Tomorrow, as part of a most valuable promotion show, unbeaten up-and-comer from Puerto Rico, Crystal Rosado, will be returning to action opposite the ring, Berlanga Dmitriyeva of Russia, in a bantamweight contest scheduled for 6 rounds. Bantamweight, that's where Shernika Johnson holds the WBA title. Miyo Yoshida, she's got the IBF, and Dina Thorslund, she's got the other two. Alongside the Ring Magazine title, that's where this contest is taking place at bantamweight, 118 pounds. Now, up until now, Crystal Rosado seems to have been campaigning as a super flyweight, down at 115. This fight is at 118, so I'm not completely sure where she's going to be campaigning moving forward, though on the premise that she's going to campaign as a bantamweight moving forward, those are the champions, those are the titleists that she would encounter. Though at only 3-0, going on 4-0, it's conceivable that we're a ways out from Crystal Rosado challenging for an alphabet title. The young protege of Amanda Serrano, young Crystal Rosado, best described as a smaller version of Caroline Dubois, or a smaller version of Beatriz Ferreira. The speed, the combination punching, the accuracy, and the power. What you see in those fighters, you see in Crystal Rosado, just at a lower weight, much lower weight. She is several years younger than the both of them. Crystal's only 21. Her body is still growing. That might be why she's fighting at bantamweight in her next fight instead of super flyweight. I think her first 3 fights were at superfly. This one's at bantam, and at only 21 years old, her body is definitely still growing. She's still filling out, so she might campaign as a bantamweight moving forward. And she's set to face Russia's own Veronika Dmitriyeva. I don't think much of the opponent, because this is just a developmental fight. This is just a learning fight, scheduled for 6 rounds so that Crystal can eventually fight in 6-rounders, 8-rounders, and subsequently 10-rounders. They're building up her toughness, her endurance, and her experience, her time under tension, time under the hot lights. That's all they're doing with this fight. Remember, this is Crystal's 4th fight. This is only her 4th fight as a professional boxer. They're not going to throw her in there with the killers and the gorillas just yet. Not at only 3-0, 21 years old. There's a lot more work that needs doing, but I've seen Crystal's fights. I've seen all 3 of Crystal's fights so far, and so far so good. She's fast, she's strong, she's accurate, and she's mean-spirited. It's a little bit too soon to tell what base style she's gonna fall under. Right now, she looks like a cross between a boxer-puncher and a pressure fighter. She could go on to become either one of the two. She is a mid-range to inside fighter, and she is a combination puncher. She puts them together. It's not an outside cutie pie like Sky Nicholson. Crystal is a mid-range to inside combination puncher and a fast one. I like what I see. She's an action fighter, just like her mentor, Amanda Serrano. Set to be in action tomorrow night as part of a most valuable promotions show. Look for this on DAZN. In men's super middleweight news, I came across a story yesterday that grabbed my attention, a report that seems to indicate what the World Boxing Council wanted David Benavidez to do was defend his WBC interim status at super middleweight against unbeaten up-and-comer Christian Mbilli. Christian Mbilli, based out of Canada, promoted by Top Rank. I remember last year, David Benavidez's father, Jose Benavidez, he actually entertained a Christian Mbilli fight. Gave that guy his praises, said he was a monster, and he said that they'd be open to a fight like that. That's what he said last year. This year, I mean, is anybody surprised? It's cut through the bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. It would seem that the World Boxing Council is playing favorites, which would come as a surprise to no one, that on the precipice of either ordering Canelo Alvarez to fight someone or ordering David Benavidez to fight someone, they decided to order David. Put the pressure on David. Put him on the hot seat. And I told you, the World Boxing Council is never going to give preferential treatment to David Benavidez over Canelo Alvarez, because Canelo brings them more money, more sanctioning fees, bigger ones than David could ever bring them, so he gets priority. David...
Sorry, bro.
Shit rolls downhill, buddy. David Benavidez versus Christian Mbilli would have been a rare matchup, a rare pairing of the pressure fighter versus the pressure fighter. And you don't often see that. What you usually see is the pressure fighter versus the boxer puncher, or the pressure fighter versus the pure boxer, but you seldom ever see the pressure fighter versus the pressure fighter. That stylistic matchup is perhaps the most entertaining, because you're going to have two very big guys, very aggressive and very active within a round, going hell for leather with each other.
When's the last time we saw a fight like that?
The Sugar Munoz versus Shavkat Rakhimov fight almost immediately comes to mind. That's the last time I can remember seeing a pressure fighter versus a pressure fighter, and it was a great fight while it lasted. Sugar won the fight.
Back to David.
David didn't want to know. For all that crap that his father was saying last year about being open to facing Christian Mbilli, it was all just hot air. Like most of what you get from Team Benavidez. When push came to shove and it was time to nut the fuck up, they didn't want to.
You don't think you're being too hard on David? I mean, he's staying at 175 and he's targeting the winner of Better B versus Bivol. Better and more proven fighters than Christian Mbilli, wouldn't you say?
I would say that if I actually believed you were targeting the winner of that fight, but I don't think he's going to fight the winner of that fight. Hell, I don't think he's going to fight the loser of that fight. And the real reason he's staying at 175 is because he can't make 168 anymore. Not healthy. And now this.
WBC wanted him to fight Christian Mbilli in defense of his WBC interim title.
How do you think that fight would have went?
Not sure. David Benavidez, comparatively, has fought the more familiar faces, the more familiar fighters like Anthony Durrell and Caleb Plant and Demetrius Andrade.
He's got the better resume, but if they would have had the fight, what you have to remember is David has been struggling to make the weight. He can't make it match fit anymore, I don't think. And when you can't make a weight match fit, it affects your punch resistance, your ability to take a shot and hold a shot. You stay at a weight too long, your punch resistance suffers for it, and so does your power. It manifests in your performance the night of. You can't punch as hard.
If you stay at a weight too long,
eventually you can't punch, you can't take a punch, you're not explosive anymore.
If you stay at a weight too long,
and I've been telling you, David Benavidez stayed at super middleweight too long. He stayed there for far too long, to the point it's not healthy for him to keep making that weight anymore. Just because you got there doesn't mean you got there match fit. If you'll notice, David Benavidez didn't fight any punchers at super middleweight. He didn't fight anybody who could crack. Caleb Plant is not a power guy. Demetrius Andrade,
he's not a power guy.
Anthony Durrell, Ronald Ellis, Kyron Davis, these are not punchers. These guys can't crack. Christian Mbilli, he can, and he throws punches in bunches like David throws punches in bunches. He's a pressure guy, a mid-range to inside guy, an aggressive one, a persistent one, like David is a persistent one.
But David is struggling to make the weight.
For a guy who's struggling to make the weight, having that much coming at you that often within a round, in a fight, it's physically taxing. No, David Benavidez is the one who's used to dispensing all the punishment. He's not used to taking it.
He's used to being the bully, not being bullied.
So in a word, Christian Mbilli may have chased this guy out of the super middleweight division. That's the look of it. Because when push came to shove and they ordered you to fight that guy, your people wanted to do something else. They wanted to stay at light heavyweight. And they'll say it's for the winner of Better B versus Bivol. They'll say that.
But are you going to take their word for it?
You're going to believe them when they're the ones who told you last year that they would like to fight this same guy, the guy they didn't want to fight this year.
And I'm supposed to take their word for it.
But now what they want to do is fight the winner of Better B versus Bivol. I don't believe them. And I don't think that fight is going to happen.
Nope.
The Benavidez faction of fans are upset. This is not good news to them, and I don't know why, because this brings David closer to undisputed, at least theoretically. If you believe him, and you think he means what he says, that he wants to fight the winner of Better B versus Bivol, what are you so upset about? It's still for undisputed, it's still a quality fight.
You weren't getting anywhere with Canelo.
So what are you mad about? This is yet another opportunity to become an undisputed champion. And all you've got to do is fight the winner of that fight and beat the winner of that fight. But maybe they're upset because they don't actually like his chances. They don't like his chances against the winner of that fight, whether it's Artur Beterbiev or Dmitry Bivol. And that's why they're not celebrating. That's why they're upset.
And that's why all you're going to hear about from Team Benavidez in the coming weeks and months is about Canelo, a guy who's still at 168, while he's at 175, supposedly lining himself up for the winner of Better B versus Bivol. He's not going to talk about them. He's going to talk about Canelo.
I don't even think he's going to fight the winner of Better B versus Bivol. I don't.
If he does, he's going to lose.
In terms of pressure fighters, because David is a pressure fighter. And so is Artur Beterbiev. If Artur wins, becomes undisputed champion, and David tries to fight him, well, David doesn't do anything better than Artur Beterbiev in terms of boxing fundamentals, nuts and bolts boxing. He's not actually a better boxer than Artur Beterbiev, not a better pressure fighter, doesn't punch as hard.
Artur knocks him out.
If Artur beats Dmitri, if Dmitri beats Artur, David tries to fight Dmitri, Dmitri takes him to school. Same thing he did to Zurdo Ramirez, he would do to David Benavidez.
Same thing.
Lopsided UD. Lopsided points decision in favor of the Russian fighter, in favor of Dmitri Bivol.
They both beat him.
But I don't think David is going to fight the winner of that fight. I really don't. I don't think he's going to fight the loser of that fight.
Then who is he going to fight?
Maybe he'll fight the winner of Morrell versus Hot Rod.
Maybe.
Maybe he'll fight Philadelphia's own Jesse Hart. Jesse Hart. Maybe he'll fight that guy at 175 pounds. But I don't think he's going to fight the winner of Better B versus Bivol. I don't see it.
Nope.
What's up, y'all? It's Edgar Berlanga, and I want to tell my fight fans, man, we got the fight. Berlanga versus Canelo, live September 14th in Las Vegas on pay-per-view. And for y'all fucking haters, man, y'all gonna eat y'all words. And don't sleep on me, because y'all gonna be sleeping for a very long time, man. Knockout season, fireworks. You know how we coming? Big New York. Puerto Rico en la casa, oíste, pa' que lo sepa.
So, Canelo Alvarez is having this fight at the expense of his IBF title. He will soon no longer be his division's undisputed champion. The title itself will be on the line, and what is supposed to be a fight between unbeaten William Skull and unbeaten Vladimir Shishkin.
New champion will be crowned, and little by little, the landscape at 168 will begin to change.
Maybe it needs to. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a big Canelo Alvarez fan, and you guys know that. But I can't pretend to be excited to see this fight just because it's Canelo Alvarez. It's not a fight that anybody wants. And in spite of the Mexico versus Puerto Rico angle, the Mexico versus Puerto Rico rivalry, there is hardly a rivalry between one as accomplished as Canelo Alvarez and one as unaccomplished as Edgar Berlanga. This is not Chavez versus Camacho or De La Hoya versus Trinidad.
This is not that.
Edgar Berlanga skipped several steps en route to this fight, which is why it has no sizzle, no synergy, no energy, that it would have made sense for Edgar, before he faces Canelo, to fight somebody like Caleb Plant, or maybe a Jaime Munguia. You make it through those fights, you build your brand, build up your name.
He didn't do that.
That didn't happen because it couldn't happen. If it did, Edgar would have never made it to the Canelo Alvarez fight. He would have likely lost to a Jaime Munguia, lost to a Caleb Plant. So if you fast-track Edgar to a Canelo fight without those fights having happened, this fight won't have any sizzle.
There's nothing about it I like.
Nothing about this fight and nothing about this show is appealing to me. I mean, look at the co-main. Look at the chief support. Lara versus Garcia. Arislandi Lara versus Danny Garcia. This is a fight that was supposed to have happened sometime last year. For one reason or another, they just didn't get it together, but now they did. And if this is the chief support, what's going to be on the undercard?
This schlock.
Who, if anyone, is still interested in the career of Danny Garcia? Arislandi Lara really should be unifying with Carlos Adames, this division's WBC champion. That would have made more sense for a chief support, for a co-main event.
If this is the co-main, what's going to be on the undercard?
A day or so ago, we found out that the proposed PBC show that was supposed to be happening next month, that Caleb Plant would be headlining opposite the ring Trevor McCumbee, we found out that show's been canceled. Now what I expect is that Caleb Plant will be on the undercard of this show, and Stephen Fulton will be on the undercard of this show.
Why?
Stephen Fulton did say via his own social media, I guess I'll see you guys in September, and this show is happening in September. No, I don't think that's a coincidence. The same way I don't think it's a coincidence that not but 1 or 2 days ago, the August show got canceled and this one got announced. What they're likely going to do is funnel the fighters that were going to fight in August to the undercard of this show in September. That's what I think they're going to do.
So predictable.
Empty promises going all the way back to January of this year about non-pay-per-view shows. regular shows on Amazon Prime. One hasn't happened yet because they don't have the money to do it.
All I can do is use those fighters to decorate the undercard of a pay-per-view. And that's likely what they're going to do. That's what I'm expecting.
Not so big a fan of Canelo Alvarez that I'm going to pretend to be remotely excited about this fight because I'm not.
Canelo is too far ahead of this fighter. Too far beyond him. That's the problem. If it were Edgar Berlanga versus Diego Pacheco or Christian Mbilli, David Morrell, Jaime Munguia,
Caleb Plant.
those are more even contests that make for a more even fight, a more intriguing fight. But when the disparity in levels and experience is this great, what you're looking at is a mismatch. An $80 mismatch.
It's what this is. And it's at the expense of Canelo Alvarez's IBF title. The silver lining in all of this, that at least one alphabet title will become available for the other fighters at this weight to fight for. The IBF title, that if you don't stand much chance of
Fighting.
challenging Canelo Alvarez for the belts that he has, there's at least one belt that he doesn't have.
So you can go after that one.
Let guys like Christian Mbilli and Bektamir Melenkuziev target the IBF title, since they would stand a better chance of getting the IBF champion in the ring than Canelo in the ring. And it just is what it is. Disappointing. Anticlimactic.
You can't just slap Mexico versus Puerto Rico rivalry on any fight, not just any fight.
What are tired old tropes and overused gimmicks in the sport of boxing to sell what is a less than spectacular fight. And the hope now is that Canelo Alvarez goes in there, kills this guy quick, and this is just a segue to something bigger, something better, maybe a Crawford fight afterwards that Turki Al-Sheikh is willing to pay for, because this by itself,
This sucks.
nobody thinks Edgar Berlanga is on Canelo Alvarez's level. I mean, nobody. In the haze of marketing angles that the powers that be use to sell a fight, market it in the sport of boxing, you can say that this is a Mexico versus Puerto Rico rivalry all you want.
Say it till you're blue in the face.
You're not going to convince anyone that Edgar is the worthiest adversary or a worthy challenger for someone like Canelo Alvarez. He just isn't.
The Joshua versus Dubois fight is that same month.
More of a blockbuster than this fight, I'd say it is. He knew he's fighting TJ Doheny that same month too.
That's a mismatch.
So is this.
Yeah, but that one don't cost $80. This one does.
My reaction: I can't be excited for this fight. I can't be excited for this card.
There's nothing about this show I like.
Nothing I'm looking forward to. And I can't fight this feeling that Canelo Alvarez is pushing it.
He's kind of pushing it with the fans.
I don't know what else I'm supposed to say.